It's time for the Splash Live from Civic Center TV, featuring stories from and about people like you in the greater West Bloomfield area. Simulcast on cable, 89.3 Lakes FM, social media, and the web. Now live from Green Media Center on Walnut Lake Road, it's the Splash Live.
Live, local, social, it's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm Tyler Keefe, joined as always by Kevin McIntosh. Glad to be back with you. Another exciting week ahead in our community, Kevin.
What's going on, Tyler? Happy to have you here. Happy to be here with you per usual. Never taking it for granted. Another day, another opportunity to talk to the community, man. Another weekend. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, and we are officially in fall here in Greater West Bloomfield. Sunday, the autumn solstice, leading us now officially into the fall season across our community and across the globe. The weather may not be crisp, but the leaves sure are across our community, so don't forget to get out and enjoy some of the beautiful fall foliage over the next few weeks. That was the message over the weekend from West Bloomfield Parks, who has an exciting lineup of activities and events this fall. You can check out all that they have going on wbparks.org or on their Facebook page at WB Parks. If you do go to their website, you can just hop over to that register link on your web browser. It's in the top right corner if you're using your computer or your laptop. And there you'll be able to check out their full activity guide. Their fall guide is out. It's downloadable on their website. And through their website, you can also click through in that guide to find more information on these events and sign up for them as well. Again, that's at WBParks.org. In the Tri-Cities, Kevin, very similar, still an eventful time here across our community, particularly in Keego Harbor, leading the charge with many of these recurring fall events, including one final Yoga in the Park event from their Keego Connect activities over the summer. That will be coming up this week, Saturday morning at Rose Sorter Park under the gazebo. So for all of their events and activities coming up this fall and beyond, that's on Facebook at KH Parks. Also a great place to go to communicate with Keego Harbor Parks and Rec. And if you want to get involved, if you want to organize some of these things too, very friendly team over there. They are always looking for new and exciting people to join their crew.
Yeah, very, very interesting. But it's good that they have that available for people to, who do have that interest to help serve their community in our greater West Bloomfield area. So it's great that we are even a channel to get that information out there too, Tyler.
Yeah, and especially this time of the year, these are the kinds of things that keep our community vibrant and the people vibrant too. There's rain in the forecast throughout this week. It was a gloomy start to Monday with some clouds during your morning commute. Doesn't exactly inspire smiles and greatness to kick off a new week and to kick off a new season. But these events in our community can pay dividends in increasing your motivation and keeping you happy and springy throughout the fall season. As we were told by motivation expert in our local area, Stacy Renee from the Positive Shift Ahead, who gave us more information on exactly how participating in these events and activities in our community can enhance your mood and your motivation this season.
Getting out sometimes does more for you than you realize. Getting out, and you may feel a little insecure at first. If you're out, look at somebody that is maybe just kind of standing there. They're trying to get out. Go socialize with them. It really does make a big difference from going out, being part of the community, being with one versus sitting on your couch. Yes. Be you.
And that's a really great point, Kevin. I had a chance over the weekend. There was an event in downtown Wixom, which is a walking distance from where I'm living out in western Oakland County, and just being out in that environment, exploring for a little bit. I didn't know anybody there, didn't really do much of anything while I was out there, but it was the exploration, it was being around that positive energy that really did lift my mood on that Saturday.
I was literally talking to someone recently about that too, about how the seasons literally have an effect on our mood. Like, essentially, we don't like to go outside. It's cold, it's uncomfortable. So kind of getting used to being outside or taking advantage of just being in social events like that, it can really uplift your mood. And it's great that we had an opportunity to sit there and talk about it and highlight those with a professional.
The change of seasons, Kevin, also a good time to check in on some of those safety precautions that you take in your home. The West Bloomfield Fire Department welcoming us into the fall by also reminding us to check on our smoke detectors and our carbon monoxide alarms in our homes. Anytime there's a change of season, they suggest you take a look at those batteries, test out these alarms, and make sure that they are in working order. They suggest you remove the alarm from the wall or from the ceiling, wherever you have it located. Look at the back of the alarm for the date of the manufacturer and see if it has expired. Some of them come with an expiration date. Others, if it's been around 10 years old, that's usually around the time where they need to be replaced with a new unit. If not, you can replace the battery and reset the unit to its place on the wall and be just fine. They do say, again, put the alarm back if it is less than 10 years old and you've checked the date of manufacture and it's still working properly. And if it's older than 10 years old, which is usually the shelf life of more of these newer smoke detector and carbon monoxide alarm units, you're probably okay to put it back on the wall after doing a test and making sure that it works properly. They do suggest that you repeat that process with every single one of these devices in your homes, not just one in the most frequented area or at random. Check every single one of these. Do that at the change of the season. And, of course, you can find more helpful advice and information on Facebook at WB Fire Department. But an important step for people to take as we enter a new season, Kevin.
Yes, absolutely. It's always better safe than sorry when it comes to those types of things. It's annoying when you're just doing simple things, cooking or anything like that has some type of smoke that goes to it, and then your smoke detector or smoke alarm goes off. But at least you know it works. Okay, so that's one of those things where it's annoying when your smoke alarm goes off, but it's good to know that it works. So yes, double check just to be proactive so we don't have any of those worst case scenarios.
Always good advice from our friends at the West Bloomfield Fire Department, Kevin. And speaking of on fire, something that would definitely set off a smoke detector is the heat of this West Bloomfield Lakers football team. West Bloomfield last week, Friday, an exciting matchup on homecoming night against Southfield A&T, where they emerged victorious 44-0, the final score at the Swamp at West Bloomfield High School. Their second shutout of the season, both of those coming at home, and plenty more to look into and celebrate from this football game. Joining us for more analysis now is color commentator for our live coverage of Laker football, Matt Gattoni. Matt, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was an impressive game for the Lakers, a bounce-back game that they really needed after two tough losses on the road at Birmingham Groves and Rochester Adams, respectively. They come back in. They needed to show that they were able to execute in all three phases and play a complete game. They definitely did both of those on Friday night.
Yeah, going into the game, we had kind of said they didn't just need to win, but win convincingly if they wanted to show that they were still among the top in their division and, contenders for a state title when playoffs come around. They did just that. And I was really, intrigued with how the passing game came to develop a little bit. That was arguably my favorite play of the game, the connection that Elijah Durham and Bo Jackson were able to come together with. I believe it was an 80-yard touchdown. But it was nice to see that chemistry develop a little bit in the passing game and kind of, show signs of life that, come later in the playoffs, they may be able to throw the ball if they have to.
Yeah, this Lakers offense continued to be its strong point in that game against Southfield A&T. As you said, the passing game definitely getting involved much more than it was in previous games. And it was Bo Jackson's most efficient game so far. 5 for 8 passing, 117 yards, and a touchdown. He also took it for a run on the ground, a 29-yard run late in the first half that set them up for a potential score at the end of the half. A really impressive play for Bo Jackson, who had 146 all-purpose yards. Saw other players like Devin James on your screen as we speak getting in the end zone. And, of course, here you see that 80-yard reception for a touchdown to Elijah Durham early on in the game, late in the first half, to put the Lakers up by 30 at that point. A really impressive matchup offensively for them, but also on the ground game, too, where we saw Josh Tate have another great matchup, over 5 yards per carry, and guys down the depth chart like Obi Duru and Malcolm Gibson also coming into the fold.
Yeah, we saw Gibson really get his first action of the season, and that was very nice to see, not just, him get some action given the score of the game, but the ability that he showed once he got into the game, and he definitely flashed as a runner. It'll be interesting to see if they feature him more going forward. But this win was just especially crucial given what else happened around the OAA this week. Lake Orion losing, kind of giving West Bloomfield an option or opportunity to get back into the thick of things if they're able to rattle off some wins here in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's a huge point right there, too. Lake Orion having taken a loss, Clarkston having taken a loss to Rochester Adams. Now West Bloomfield will have a chance with them this week. We'll talk more about that a little bit later on. But look, Rochester Adams picks up a loss. West Bloomfield's able to get a couple more wins over these next 3 weeks with a tough round going forward with Clarkston, Lake Orion, and Oxford in that order. Now all of a sudden, they've gone from falling out of the OAA Red race to potentially being a contender in that race going forward. But back to Friday night's 44-0 victory for West Bloomfield. What I thought was the most impressive was their defensive performance, which seemed like they had a head of steam in that game. They were extra motivated after a couple of matchups where their opponents put up quite a lot of points against them.
Yeah, they really did not let much going at all on defense this week, and that was very nice to see. They stifled the run game, and even when they did allow Southfield A&T to get into field goal range, even we saw them almost immediately snatch the ball right back. I believe it was Merriweather with the first pick, and then Chops Pittman with his second pick six of the year. But it was a very impressive and detailed performance by the defense.
Yeah, Jeremiah Benson with 1.5 sacks on that game, assisted on that second sack by Josh Bryant. They're both the leading sackers on this team in 2024, with Benson now 5.5 sacks on the season, and Josh Bryant with 1.5. But as you said, we saw multiple interceptions in that game. Kalik Robinson coming up with one. We had a pick six from Chops Pittman. That's his second interception of the season, both of which have ended up in the end zone. But even guys down the depth chart making some very impressive performances too, and some of the common guys we haven't seen in that starring role really this season being highly effective. Will Espy with 8 tackles, 5 of which were solo tackles as well. And then on the special teams front, they had an excellent night too, and part of that was just mistakes from a young Southfield A&T team, but these Lakers took advantage of those mistakes and made the most out of them, and it showed on the scoreboard.
Yeah, like you mentioned, the special teams last week were phenomenal, and I think that is something, that's kind of helped them throughout the year. They've kind of been the most consistent unit on this entire team. We saw a few weeks ago at Rochester Adams, the special teams unit, kind of kickstart that second half for them. And this week, too, we see them recover the, bobbled kick. I don't know if that was an intentional onside attempt or, just something to keep the ball away from the returners, but we've seen the special teams unit, really be, kind of the leaders of this team in a way.
Yeah, been highly effective in the past few weeks, limiting those opportunities or creating tougher opportunities for their opponents. You think about the Rochester Adams game, which was tied at a 0-0 score through the half. A lot of that came down to putting them in inopportune field position to start off those offensive series. That's a credit to Jaden Allos and his punting ability, and to the upmen and making effective tackles when those punts were ultimately being returned. So special teams plays a really critical role, and we have to also talk about the effectiveness of a guy like Justin Ward, who had his first field goal of the season last week, who up until last week's game where he had one missed extra point, other than that, has been perfect on the season every time he's stepped foot on the field. That's going to be a huge factor, especially with a tough OAA schedule coming up in the Red over these next 3 weeks. And that includes this week going on the road, one of the toughest environments in the entire state, heading to Northern Oakland County against Clarkston.
Yeah, and really that was another key part of showing some, life on defense this week with being able to stop the run, because, this week against Clarkston and a few weeks against Oxford, they're going to want to run the ball. So it's going to be crucial to see that defense, step up again this week. We've mentioned the 24-hour rule for getting, after Friday night what happens. But again, you're going to want to see, similar instances from that defense with stepping up and stopping the run.
And that's going to come into factor this week. We saw a year ago in Clarkston, very similar story for the Lakers, struggling a little bit on the defensive side because of the playmaking ability of those Clarkston Wolves with Griffin Bowman and Brady Collins, their then quarterback, at the helm. Now it's a different situation. They got 24 returning starters, from last season's team, where they were very good throughout the season, made the playoffs. They had some tough games, and their schedule didn't quite work out so favorably for them in 2023. But Alec Wazenko, their quarterback, has made a really strong connection with Brady Beck, and this team is playing smart football and have gone up against tough competition. That's something that's going to really benefit Clarkston coming into this game, because they've had matchups with Belleville, matchups with Rochester Adams that have really prepared them for what West Bloomfield's got to offer.
Yeah, really, again, we've mentioned that's arguably the biggest benefit of playing in this division. Not just usually the teams that you play in your own division, but normally teams in this division choose like good out-of-conference matchups. We've seen both of these teams have played both state title participants from last year. Belleville is obviously in a much better state than Southfield A&T is, but both of these teams are well tested, battle tested at this point. So it's going to be interesting to see, how they've licked their wounds, addressed their weaknesses, and how they come into this crucial matchup in OAA division play.
Yeah, especially after the week that they had, losing 10-28 to Rochester Adams. We saw how that kind of lit a fire under the West Bloomfield Lakers, losing a close matchup to Rochester Adams. For Clarkston, a little bit of a different story. It was a game that wasn't really close for them in the final score, and they're going to come in motivated. They're coming in at home, and they're coming in with a rivalry game against a team in West Bloomfield that's always up in that competition for who's getting the hype year after year out of the OAA Red, with West Bloomfield coming in the preseason #1. This week, the D-Zone ranks West Bloomfield 24th in the state and Clarkston number 22 in the state. So this is going to be a really interesting matchup. Matt Catoni is with us, our color commentator, for our live coverage of West Bloomfield Laker football. We'll do our best again to have live coverage of this week's game from Clarkston High School. It's a Friday night kickoff at 7 o'clock. The Lakers taking on the Clarkston Wolves. Matt, always good to see a bounce-back game after a couple of losses. We saw a lot of good things from the Lakers last week. What are you looking to see continue to improve or really be focal points for West Bloomfield as they come into arguably their toughest game of the year so far?
Yeah, being efficient on offense, not making mistakes, holding on to the ball. We saw last week, them come out and kind of just do these simple, easy throws for Bo Jackson, roll them out, have him kind of dump it off to a guy in the flats that's already in motion. Just simple, easy throws to get the offense moving and just limiting those opportunities for the defense to force turnovers. I think if they hold on to the ball this week, it'll really put them in good position to just, chew the clock out and force Clarkston to make the mistakes that we saw Southfield A&T make last week.
It's going to be an interesting week for the West Bloomfield Lakers coming in to Clarkston on Friday night, a big rivalry game, and a game that's going to, look, last week was a bounce-back game. It was an identity game. This is going to be a game that sets the tone for the weeks ahead, with Lake Orion coming in, another rivalry week at West Bloomfield on October 4th, and then Oxford, who's been a very tough team to compete with in 2024, and is one of those teams similar to in the past what Southfield A&T had been in the years leading up to their championship, a team that looks like it's a matter of when, not if, they take that big step forward and become a contender in the state of Michigan. Matt, any lasting thoughts before we let you go?
Yeah, I mean, really just this game being on the road and the next two at home just makes it all the more crucial. If the Lakers are able to rattle off a win this week on the road, those next two home games just become that much more cozy.
It's going to be an interesting week for West Bloomfield. It will tell us a lot about the very, very compelling story we have in the OAA Red Division going forward this second part of the regular season. Matt, thank you so much.
Yep, thank you for having me.
You'll hear Matt Catoni and I on every West Bloomfield Laker football broadcast all throughout the season. In the meantime, CivicCenterTV.com for more of our coverage, CivicCenterTV.com/LakerSports for the latest updates on scores from weeks 1 through 4, and a place to go to watch this week in Laker football with Coach Zach Hilbers and I every single week as we review last week's game and preview the matchup ahead. This is your home for West Bloomfield Laker football. And Kevin, that was a great way to start off the weekend. A big, emphatic win for the West Bloomfield Lakers at home against Southfield A&T. But there is plenty more to be proud of and plenty more to be happy and celebrating happening across our community over the weekend, including over in Keego Harbor.
Yeah, we celebrate a win in West Bloomfield, but we celebrate a win, like we said, in Keego Harbor to the women of Kego Harbor actually came out to help clean and beautify their city. Over the weekend, the Kego Cast Women's Club completed their Adopt a Road fall cleanup. Now, while it is unfortunate that people do litter, it's always great when people take the initiative to gather up and make their community shine by cleaning up the litter that they're not even paid to do. They're just doing it on their own will. So we want to honor them. If you're watching on Civic Center TV right now, you can see those women wearing their safety vests with those bags, cleaning up the city and making the community look better. So thank you to the Road Commission of Oakland County for this wonderful program, first and foremost. And thank you for organizations like the Kego Cast Women Club coming together to actually clean up the roads in our community.
Yeah, they've been doing this for a number of years. They won a Michigan Week Award earlier on in 2024, finally getting their due recognition for this volunteer service they provide all throughout the year. They usually will go out once in the spring as we get out of the winter season and all that gunk and garbage comes out from under the snow, and then another time before the fall as we wrap up summer and try to clean up a bit before the colder months come in and that snow gets back out on the ground. Great stuff out of the heart of the lakes. Also over the weekend, a lot of fun out at West Bloomfield Town Hall on the brand new Storybook Trail behind West Bloomfield Parks and Recreation and the West Bloomfield Township Public Library. They officially opened it with a big day of walking and reading on a sunny Sunday in Greater West Bloomfield. The perfect way to kick off fall programs for our local library and for West Bloomfield Parks this season, and plenty of great snapshots from throughout that event as the kids had fun out on the Storybook Trail. They did a lot of learning. They got to explore this new amenity that's been put in by the West Bloomfield Township Public Library and their partners over at West Bloomfield Parks. But if you missed the grand opening, don't worry, there's plenty more coming up on the Storybook Trail going forward. In fact, Emily Tobin from the West Bloomfield Township Public Library joined us recently, live, local, social, right here on the Splash Live to give us more information on what they have going forward on the new trail.
We're going to do this Halloween storybook stroll. So there'll be a Halloween story and kids can collect their treats along the way. I know Parks is planning some in the spring. We'll partner with them to do specific books for like their winter solstice or the Pollinator Festival so that they can utilize that trail as well to do specific programming around their larger events. And then of course, for summer reading, we do obviously a lot of programming for summer reading, and we can plan larger hikes around that as well. When we do our big kickoff, we can do a walk as well on that Storybook Trail.
So there's a lot more coming up on the Storybook Trail. Again, that is right along the trail network that's behind West Bloomfield Town Hall. You can access that anytime, not just for the special events. And of course, keep up to date with more happening on the Storybook Trail and at our Main and West Acres Library branches on WBLIB.org or on Facebook at West Bloom LIB. Kevin, something great for the kids to keep them engaged and learning all year round.
We love doing stuff like that, getting the kids and just getting the community together, not only to enjoy our beautiful trails that we have here in West Bloomfield, but now it adds a little bit more excitement to it. So you can take the kids while they're learning and get them to read some of those signs. And at the end of the trail, you read an entire book. I think it's a great thing to do right here.
More information can be found on this, of course, again, WBLIB.org or even on the West Bloomfield Parks website on WBParks.org. We'll take a break on the Splash Live. Plenty more coming up this week, including early on in the week with some special information for parents and caregivers to help our kids right here in Greater West Bloomfield. Live, local, social. It's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.
We'll be right back with the Splash Live. Bringing you stories and memories from Orchard Lake. Civic Center TV, television that's close to home.
Hi, I'm Lauren Azuri, the Park Naturalist Supervisor for West Bloomfield Parks. Congratulations to you, Civic Center TV, for hitting 1 million views on YouTube. We really appreciate your partnership in spreading nature education in a creative way in our community. I'm Lauren Azuri, proud to be 1 in a million.
1 in 4 Michigan homes has high levels of radon, a naturally occurring radioactive gas known to cause lung cancer. It doesn't matter where you live or what type of home you have. You won't even know it's there unless you test. So don't wait. Testing is cheap and easy, and if there's a problem, it's simple to fix. Visit michigan.gov/radon to learn more.
We took action. Will you?
Watch West Bloomfield Lakers football all season long on 89.3 Lakes FM and Civic Center TV. Join Tyler Keefe and Matt Catoni each week for live, in-depth, and exclusive coverage before, during, and after the big game. It's your local high school football team on the road and in your backyard on your home for West Bloomfield Laker football, Civic Center TV, and 89.3 Lakes FM. Want to enjoy Civic Center TV on your social media? Follow us on Twitter at Civic Center TV. Get notified when we upload one of our interviews, full episodes, and more. Thank you for watching and listening to Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. And now, back to The Splash, live.
Live, local, social, it's The Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM alongside Kevin McIntosh. I'm Tyler Keefe. Thank you for being with us. Tough to believe we're already several weeks into the new school year, and as we approach the month of October, we focus more on some of the critical goals that go into making an avid student in our community that is successful both in the classroom and outside, and especially for our young students, reading, such a critical need both in and outside of the classroom. And so the West Bloomfield School District doing its part to support parents as they support their kids' reading efforts all throughout the school year. There's going to be a special event happening in the I Center at West Bloomfield High School on October 23rd to give even more information to our parents and our caregivers of K through 5 students on how they can support their kids' efforts in reading. Joining us to tell us even more about this effort is Sonia James as well as Colleen Mestaw from the West Bloomfield School District. Thank you both for being with us today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, happy to have you on to talk about this. It's called Caregiver University. It'll be happening again October 23rd in the I Center at West Bloomfield High School. Give us a little bit of a background on the inspiration behind creating this opportunity for parents and why you want to focus on the, quote, Raising Joyful Readers, end quote, initiative.
Well, actually, I'm going to turn it over to Colleen because really she is the brain thrust. As a member of our global equity team, this is one of the initiatives that we felt really passionate about in terms of providing opportunities for our families to be engaged with what we do at school and giving them some tools at home to help to build that home school connection. So I'm going to turn it over to Colleen so she can tell you more about Raising Joyful Readers with Caregiver University.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm a teacher librarian here in the district and a former classroom teacher, and literacy is just a huge passion of all of us in West Bloomfield. And we really want to be able to support families at home. So we know that students spend a lot of time during the school day reading, but if they go home and they're not independently reading, we know that students then will struggle. And it's so important to make this a joyful time. We want students to fall in love with books. We want them to see themselves in books. We want them to see other people and just really affirm all lived experiences. And so we thought with our GET committee, this would just tie beautifully into our equity mission. And parents get to come. They also get to bring their children. The students will kind of get to go into an activity room and do some awesome book activities and get book bags and decorate and do a lot of fun things, while the parents will stay with us and hopefully we can give them tools to help them build a reading culture at home. And these are just really applicable, easy strategies that they can implement that will hopefully just really give them the time, the access, and choice to build and grow our readers.
And so, Colleen, we don't want to give it all away. We want people to show up to Caregiver University and take all these in. But give us a little bit of a preview of what some of these strategies are that really do, as you said, create avid learners both in and outside the classroom that seek those different journeys through books.
Sure. Well, yes, we definitely want you to come. So please join us. But really, when we think about growing readers, there are three main pillars that we'll touch on. The first one is time. So, how do we, in our busy, busy lives as parents, I'm a mom as well, how do we find time to read at home? And how do we model that for our children, right? We always kind of have the old adage as parents as they're always watching us, they see what we do. So, how can we make sure that we're always carrying books with us when we go to appointments, when we're waiting? How do we make sure that we squeeze in this reading time and we show them what a readerly life looks like? We have to model that outside of school for them to understand that this is who we are as readers. It's not a chore, it's not a job, it's a part of our identity. So we'll talk about how to make time for just simply reading at home. We will definitely talk about the importance of reading aloud and how vital that is as a family. I will give lots of tips if we have multiple children in our home. How do we kind of knock that all out at once? What are some great read alouds, some great inclusive read alouds that we can read aloud to our whole family that would be appropriate for a pre-K student all the way up to a fifth grade, right? Because if you have multiple kids, that's really, really tricky. And we know how busy families are and we know how busy kids are. So how can we teach them to squeeze in that time? There was a great research study that even 6 minutes of reading a day lowers your stress. So we not only want to get our families getting their kids reading at home, but we want the adults reading too, right? Yeah, we want them just all to value this. And we really make time for what we value, right? We'll talk a lot about access. We're so excited that the West Bloomfield Public Library will be joining us, and Schuler's
bookstore.
Yes, independent bookstore. If you haven't checked it out, part of our strategic plan in our district is community partnerships. So this is huge to kind of build that connection. And so we want families to know, go to the library. It's free, and those librarians are amazing.
Or just to step foot inside of Sheila's bookstore, that kids section is phenomenal back there as well too. You can get yourself lost in books in both the public library as well as Sheila's bookstore.
Yeah. And so access matters, right? Listening with our ears counts. Audiobooks count. There are so many ways to get our readers getting that beautiful language in their hearts. And that's really what we're trying to do is, grow our hearts through story. And choice. We're going to talk a lot about choice, that kids need to choose what they're reading. It matters. It matters. They will be motivated when they choose. So we're going to talk about valuing all styles of books, all genres, all authors, all creators. And we're going to give lots of good book lists. So I will talk about all the latest and greatest new in children's lit. And we hope we can squeeze this into an hour.
1 hour.
1 hour.
1 hour.
I talk back, so this is good.
Just take an hour of your time for parents and for caregivers to learn a lot about how you can inspire your kids to keep reading going forward and create that inclusive culture of reading too. And Colleen, going back to you on that, how do you believe that creating that culture can actually help both with not only the academic growth of our young kids, but also their personal growth too during these really critical years in their development?
Yes. I mean, I really, truly believe that books can save lives. I think that when we are very careful about the books that we're using, I teach 500 students a week and I see a different class every hour. And so, our position is really unique in the district that we are teacher librarians. We are teaching and we are running a library as well. So, in our area, we're very careful about the books we choose as our classroom teachers. And Sonia and I with the GET committee are working really hard to educate all of our staff to be very, very careful about the books they choose. Because again, we want to affirm the lived experiences of our students. That is so important. And we also want to affirm the lived experience of others who might not live the experience of our students, right? And so that's really important. We want to honor all voices. And honestly, that just builds understanding, compassion, empathy, and it creates amazing humans.
Absolutely.
And that's why we're here.
Exactly.
We're raising great humans.
Absolutely. And then you want to make sure within all of that we're doing is that students see themselves in everything that we do, the books that we're reading, the music that we play, the poems that they read. So students are seeing themselves, they're learning about themselves, but they're also learning about others as well. So everyone is learning about each other, which goes back to your point of creating very empathetic and sympathetic students in terms of just creating good humans.
Yes, and we are so lucky to be in this district. This is why I choose to live here. This is why I choose to work in this district. We are so beautifully diverse and we're so beautifully balanced in our community that it is amazing that we get to celebrate every student who walks in our door.
Yes.
And that's an amazing honor, and it's something that I don't think we take lightly.
Absolutely. And we can accomplish all of that through books.
We can.
We can do that.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a lot easier
Mm-hmm.
than I think sometimes people think,
Yes.
right? It's just finding the great books, connecting those with kids and families. And I really don't think there's an adult or child out there who doesn't like reading. I think that truly we just have to find the right book for them.
Right.
And so,
Absolutely.
Sonia, how does
Yes.
something like this and this effort, particularly on the reading side for our younger kids, both mirror but also support the overall equity and inclusion goals of the school district, something that you are overseeing on a daily basis?
It encompasses all of what we're doing within our equity goals, because this is equity. The work that we're doing, creating those joyful readers where they are reading and learning about each other. Going back again to having our students learn more about themselves, their lived experiences, and affirming what their lived experiences are, as well as learning about others. And that's what the work of equity, that's the work of diversity and that inclusion piece, and finding materials that students find that within this book, I see where I belong. I can have a conversation about this, or I learned something new about the food that Colleen eats at her home, right? Because of a book that I read. So it is equity, it is diversity, it is inclusive in terms of picking up a book and just instilling that joy of reading to our students.
And lastly, for the both of you, what other outcomes or feedback are you hoping to receive from parents or even from students as you engage in Caregiver University in late October?
A good problem to have would be that the eye center is not big enough.
Yeah.
That is our hope.
That's our hope.
But our goal is to, this year, the first time out the gate with it in terms of being very specific and intentional and building that every year we are having a focus where we're engaging our family and our community members. Even if you, in terms of, you may not be the biological parent, you may be a grandparent, you may be an aunt, an uncle, a relative that is caring for the students that we have in our district. We want everyone to feel that this is important work that we're doing here in the district, but it's also important work that we partner with you, and you can continue this at home as well too.
I mean, we're here for the students and we're here for the families. And the families know their students best, right? They are the most important person in their lives, and we care for them as if they're our own. But if we can partner with families and have that really strong homeschool connection, that just benefits our students altogether.
Absolutely.
And also, just in case we forget, we are going to have dinner.
Yes,
Did
we
we
are.
not say that?
That's right.
So yeah,
Pizza
dinner for all the kids and all the families. So, I mean, you get to come as a parent.
Yes.
You get free childcare, free dinner for your whole family.
Right.
You get to come hang out with us and talk about books.
That's right.
What could be better, right?
The joy.
The joy.
That you'll leave with, and hopefully the joy that we instill in our families for that evening.
Yes. And it just hopefully gets that momentum going forward. And we would love to continue to offer this again in the future.
A little dose of inspiration to help you inspire your child to do something productive that will help them both in their personal and their academic lives. Sonia, Colleen, thank you both for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thanks for
having
having us.
Glad to have both of you on. The event is on October 23rd. It is from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. in the Eye Center at West Bloomfield High School. We'll keep this graphic on the screen for a few seconds here so you can scan that QR code, because you should note you do have to RSVP for this event. They'd like you to do so by October 11th. So a few weeks to RSVP for this, and then ultimately October 23rd will be the date of this event. Hopefully it does go well. There'll be more of this going forward, and in the meantime, plenty more educational opportunities to explore for parents, for students, and for the community on WBSD.org, and of course on the Facebook page of the West Bloomfield School District at West Bloomfield Schools. Kevin, a really great thing for these parents, especially for these younger kids who want to get their kids engaged in their learning outside of the classroom. One of the best ways to do that is to have them explore different worlds through a book.
We love that. We love that. Inspiring readers at such a young age. Reading just takes you to places that, knowledge opens the door to, and reading is the gatekeeper for that. So we love that people are actually inspiring the youth to actually not only read, but actually getting the parents involved too. I think that's another key thing that we can't take for granted. So getting the parents involved and making it a community of reading, a culture of reading, I think that's what's most important.
Definitely is the case, Kevin, for parents to get involved in their kids' lives, to know these strategies that can help their kids academically outside of the classroom. All part of that village that helps us raise our kids here in Greater West Bloomfield and beyond. Kevin, one of the most important moments for people across our communities and around the world is their wedding day. And for some, the stress of building up to that wedding day can be more stressful than the actual wedding itself. That's especially the case for our brides if they don't have that special dress for that occasion on that day. But there's something coming up right here in our community that's going to help to bridge some of those gaps and eliminate that stress for many in our area and beyond.
I could only imagine. I'm, not being a woman, but just knowing that there's a lot that goes into that preparation, being involved in certain weddings. And locally, Elite Bridal, Donate a Gown USA International, and the Wellness Lounge are hosting a lunch and learn event right here in West Bloomfield called Self-Care Sundays. And it's actually to help local women in those types of situations. So to give a little bit more information in regards to that event and the cause in itself, join us right here on the Splash from Elite Bridal, Donate a Gown USA International. We have Jeanette Edgarts joining us on the Splash. And thank you so much for joining us, Jeanette. And I just want to get straight into it. Tell us more about this Self-Care Sunday event, which will be happening on Sunday, October 13th.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. First of all, I want to say thanks to the mall for allowing Elite Bridal to be here in the mall and to serve our community. The event is catered to women, making sure that we can de-stress, we can come together and celebrate each other, and give inkling as to what they're looking for their wedding, being able to have the right merchandise, the jewelry, the shoes, the alteration services that they may need. So we are catering to the women and making sure that we are there to support them, and also our community at large. And as we move into homecoming, we want to utilize that time to have our local ladies donate gowns and so forth to the young women who are going to prom and homecoming.
Yeah, that's a good thing right there. I love to hear and see that, first and foremost, taking the stress out of something that's, whether it's a wedding, a homecoming, prom. For a woman, it's a lot more steps to getting prepared. I'm just speaking from a man's perspective. I get a haircut, I throw on my tie, my shirt. I'm halfway dressed already. All I need is a tie.
Exactly.
But for a woman, it's so much more to that. Yeah. So I want to kind of get into that overall. What overall inspired you to start the Elite Bridal Donate a Gown initiative?
So I am originally from Monrovia, Liberia, West Africa, and I was a substitute teacher for over 15 years, and I saw the need massively for young women who needed to have gowns, but their parents, did not have the funding to do so. And we will host event at the school to make sure that they can get those high quality gowns, but for a reasonable price. So that passion have led me here to West Bloomfield, because I moved in the area and I seen the mall and the space, and I was like, this will be the great opportunity, not just to me and my family, but to give back, to make sure that young women can come in. If you don't have the funding, guess what? You can pick a dress, you can get a shoes, you can get jewelry to go for that. As long as you're in school, your goal is to graduate and go to college. We want to be there for you and to help you. So that was my passion in opening up the store here in the mall. And once again, I just wanted to say thank you so much to the mall management for giving us this opportunity to be here. I'm here in the store right now. As you can see behind me, we have hundreds of dresses already and available. So this program on the 13th, we are asking the local women to bring in those gowns in your closet that you may not have need for, so that someone can enjoy the privilege of it.
Oh, wow. I love it. The way you explained it and added the context to it. It makes so much more sense. Like you said, like I mean, like we already talked about. Yeah, obviously a wedding is so hectic. So taking that financial burden off is definitely a relief. But then even for high schoolers, like you said, you're
Yeah.
supposed to be focusing on class and
Yes.
graduating. So let's just worry less about you having to find a job to save money to get a gown, if that is the case
Mhm.
or situation. So I love and
Yes.
honor your initiative for that. And with us right here
Thank
live
you.
on the Splash from Elite Bridal, Donate a Gown USA. Jonette Eggers just talking about the upcoming Self-Care Sundays event at the Orchard Mall, October
Mhm.
13th. That'll be from 12 noon to 4 p.m. by the way. Do you have any
Yes.
stories, memorable stories of a young lady or a woman getting a gown or a dress from your organization, how it may have changed her life or her
Yes.
mood?
Oh, yes, I do. I have so many stories. We'll be on here forever. I had a young lady who needed a gown and did not have the funding. We was able to actually get her hair done, her makeup, and be able to give her that
Hmm.
gown. And we have women, even those that want to get married and don't have the funding to buy those exquisite gowns, they can come in and get the gowns at a minimum price. And one in particular, she got the gown and she was so happy. She was able to get a free wedding gown. So those are things that we want to do and continue to do for women.
Nice.
And this event, the Self Care Sunday, is to be able to hug each other and let the women know who may be in need that we're here for them. We have experts that's going to be here to talk about issues, women issues, girls issues, and be able to help each other go through life without that heavy stress and burden. So we're hoping the community come out and
Right.
just enjoy this event as well with us and make things happen for those in need.
So my biggest question to you, with that being said, obviously the operation itself relies heavily on these donations. So how are
Yes.
you engaging with the local West Bloomfield community to promote these gown donations and sustainability altogether?
Yeah, so like we're doing right now here with you, we thank you for the opportunity. We have done the local newspaper as well with the coupon books. We also are doing door to door with our fundraiser, and we're here in the mall. We're also passing out flyers and making sure people know about us. And we're hoping that through your show that more people will learn about what we do here in the mall and get involved and help us as well, because like your segment before me, the joy of reading. Like I said, I'm originally from
Yes.
Liberia, and my father actually did not learn how to read and write to teach us his 10 children till he was 16 years old in Liberia.
Mm.
And because of him, we was able to come to America. Education is key. So even though we're doing this self-help, we have also have another project we're doing, which is donating backpacks that have been already given to
Oh.
our foundation. And we want to be able to present it to Sonia Jones come tomorrow at the middle school event. So we're looking forward to doing so much in the community. This is so personal for me, making sure that we as women, we have that support that we need at all times.
I can see the passion in your tone and your energy overall, Johnny, and I love to see that you're doing this for our local community. Just a few more questions. One, how do you feel like this event, Self Care Sunday, is going to further the goals of your organization, Elite Bridal? Donate a gown.
I think it's gonna make a huge impact because people will come in, they will see these beautiful gowns, they will see the accessories, they will see our passion and our goal in helping. And I think a lot of women will understand. I'm a small business owner, and for those women who have a dream of opening up their own store, this will also encourage them that if I can do it coming from Liberia with $5 in one suitcase and be standing here in this exclusive, beautiful mall and have a store to
Mm-hmm.
give back to the American people. This is the greatest blessing there is. So I think just being here with you will give them that notion to say, yes, you can do it as well. Go for your dream.
That's That's very contagious because you being extremely appreciative and grateful makes me extremely appreciative and grateful also. It makes me want to, do the same thing. So I love that. Once again, thank you again for your time. Lastly, before we let you go, give out the details of the event once again and what people can expect, please.
Thank you. So this is a Self-Care Sunday from 12 to 4 here at Elite Bridal on October 13th. We will have light lunch, and we'll have experts available to talk with you about issues you may be going through. And if you want to come in, donate a gown or dress, gently used or new, feel free to do so. We are accepting those as well. Backpack for our local school, especially I love the passion of Sonia James at the middle school. We want to be able to be a blessing to her teachers. So we do have supplies, school supplies we want to donate to her, and just appreciate the community, the high school, the elementary school, making sure that people know, yes, we can, as women small businesses, we have a power as mothers to give back as well. So this will be a beginning of, a yearly thing that we want to do going forward.
There we go. Inaugural. We love to help promote that. And lastly, before we let you go, what are the costs and or registration steps?
It is free to come in. We do have, just go online, or you can call me directly. The phone number is 248-275-3629. We want everyone to come here and be free to enjoy the event. And if you would like to register, just give us a call, 248-275-3629. We'd love to see you, and let's have a good time together.
Hey, free. We love that. Great thing that you are doing. We are happy to have you right here on the Splash once again from Elite Bridal, Donate a Gown USA International, Jeanette Edgarts, talking about Self-Care Sunday, October 13th, 12 to 4 p.m. We appreciate your time and information.
Thank you so much. God bless.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Oh, man, what a great event. Helping local women right here in West Bloomfield who are preparing for homecomings, weddings, proms. That's still a few months, but it's never too early to prepare for that in advance. So I love that she's doing that right here in our local community, Tyler.
You want, when you have those special events that you're participating in, those rite of passage events in your life, to have something to commemorate that special moment, to put you in that special spot. And for our brides, or for people that are going to dances or other events in these dresses, that often is that one thing that brings them into that moment and makes it special for them. And having an organization like this available to them, that really does make a huge, big difference in our community.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And like I said, once again, if you are interested in finding out more information, her phone number 248-275-2936. Call her, give her a call. Jeanette Edgarts. She'll have all the information for you in regards to registration and anything else regarding that event.
Yeah, great way for people to give back in our community coming up in October. But Kevin, plenty more other ways that people have been giving back in our community in the recent weeks.
No, absolutely. As a matter of fact, over the weekend, I'm glad you brought that up, Tyler. West Bloomfield actually came together to honor one of their fallen heroes. We actually sent out our very own Jake Shaft from Civic Center TV out on the scene to learn exactly how the community gave back and saved some lives.
The West Bloomfield Police Department recently teamed up with WB Parks and the American Red Cross to do so much good in the name of one of their own. A blood drive was recently held right here at WB Parks Connect, bringing members from all across the community together to do their part in helping to save some lives. And all of this was done to honor the memory of Sergeant Patrick O'Rourke, a fallen West Bloomfield police officer who lost his life in 2012. And Patrick's legacy lives on right here in the community as everyone does their part to help one another, just as he would have wanted.
It's great. I mean, it's an opportunity for us to honor one of our fallen officers. So it's a great opportunity to serve our community. I mean, we love to have community engagement, and it's at the end of the day, we're all together. We're in this together. And so if we can help each other and serve each other, it's wonderful. And it's been a consistent flow of people, so it's been wonderful.
What are some of the benefits of events like these to the community, would you say?
Well, I think it's important that we all know that when you have these kinds of blood drives, cancer walks, those kind of things allows us all to contribute and all make sure that we can play a role.
So how did you first get involved with American Red Cross?
Well, started years ago. I've been donating occasionally, especially after a disaster. I donate in response to that disaster. And then earlier this year, I became eligible to donate blood and did my first donation in March, and I've been donating since then. And I decided to kind of close the loop. I've been giving money, I've been giving blood, and now I've decided to give time.
I've been donating blood since I was in high school, actually, since I was 18 years old. I feel like if you've ever had a loved one in the hospital or have worked in a hospital, you know exactly how much blood people need, when they're in the hospital. And I think that inspired me to do it a long time ago, and it still does today, to keep doing it.
Could you go into detail on maybe what the process is, if you can?
Yeah, I did the double red today, which was 2 units of red blood, and it was really easy. It only took a little bit longer than usual, probably 30 minutes total. I was on the table, and it was really easy to do. I feel great.
Let's say someone's watching this that's curious to donate blood themselves. What would you say to them to get them inspired to do so?
You know what? You would never want to have one of your family members be in need and the blood not be there. So I think it's so important that if you can give, and even if you're not sure if you're on the cusp, because typically I am, go and try. It's worth it.
To honor Officer O'Rourke, too, I came out also to do that today because I remember the day that he passed away here in West Bloomfield, and I felt so much compassion for his children, for his family, and I felt like tying this together today and doing something by giving back, as well as keeping he and his family in mind, honoring them as well. It was a perfect combination for me to come out.
Sergeant O'Rourke meant so much to the people of West Bloomfield, and it's amazing to see so many people come together to honor his legacy in this way. And it also serves as a valuable lesson that even just a tiny little bit of effort can go such a long way. For Civic Center TV, I'm Jake Schaff.
Very, very touching, emotional story right here, connected to our local West Bloomfield community, honoring the life and legacy of Sergeant Patrick O'Rourke through a blood drive with our local American Cross Foundation. You can see the passion in the residents who, like we said, like they said, were around when that actually happened, remember when it happened, and want to keep his family and his legacy alive by donating.
And there's so many different ways for people to get involved with the American Red Cross in these blood drives. If you missed that one last week, there's plenty of more that will be coming up in our community and in surrounding areas going forward. RedCrossBlood.org is the place to go to find listings of blood drives and other events that you can help our local American Red Cross chapter here in Michigan all throughout the year. As we approach the end of September, of course, we recognize September as National Recovery Month, but all year round there are special boxes placed all throughout our 4 communities that are providing education and life-saving resources every single day. They're called Save a Life stations, and they're at many of our public places like our library, at West Bloomfield Town Hall, and even at some local businesses or some local gyms even that have Save a Life stations right outside. They're placed all throughout locations in Oakland County with information for substance use disorders, about intervention and prevention, education as well, and resources like Narcan or naloxone for reversing opioid overdoses. They're all provided for free to our communities here in West Bloomfield, Keego Harbor, Orchard Lake, Sylvan Lake, and beyond by the Alliance of Coalitions for Healthy Communities. With many of these based right here in our communities, we were told they were very highly effective, as was explained to us by Pepper Catt from the Alliance of Coalitions for Healthy Communities.
A Save a Life station is it's a big box. It's free. You can open it up, and then inside that we have naloxone. So you can take naloxone for free. We also have resource cards in there. We have fentanyl and xylazine testing strips in some of the locations to help keep people safe and know what they're ingesting. But the naloxone is what I really believe is, helping the community. We had a 3% decrease in overdose fatalities this past year. And this next year, we're hoping that number is even bigger. Naloxone is really easy to use. It's a nasal spray. It's a opiate reversal medication. So getting the education out there, teaching people how to administer it, making sure people know it's okay to carry around. It's a very safe medication. And I think that that's one of the main reasons that we're saving lives out there, and we're starting to see a change.
And we have many more of those resources on naloxone or Narcan that are available, how you can utilize it, how safe it is to have on your person and storing it. Even from our website, civiccentertv.com, if you search Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital, you'll find a package or some materials we put together earlier on in the year when they had a full discussion on Narcan and the opioid crisis in our community. There's also plenty more information from the Alliance of Coalitions for Healthy Communities on their website, alliancemi.org. Kevin, something to keep in mind all throughout the year with these resources readily available to us across our 4 communities.
Once again, great effort by our local community, local organizations to provide resources for recovery during National Recovery Month right here in September. Great interview, great, like I said, great interview, great story that she provided during that interview too, by the way, Pepper Cat. So once again, make sure you look out for those different places of resources that we have for recovery.
A full listing of those Save a Life stations and their locations in our community, alliancemi.org. Plenty more information to give you from across our 4 communities all throughout the week. We thank you for joining us on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. We want to thank each and every one of our guests for joining us, as well as our dedicated crew, Calvin Brown and Jake Schaff at Master Control. Alongside Kevin McIntosh, I'm Tyler Keefe. Thanks for tuning in to Splash Live.